Are we live? I don't even know if we're live. Are we? Okay, sorry, everyone. I was getting a notification. I was trying to clear it, and I thought that we weren't live yet, but here we are. Hello, beautiful humans. Welcome to the Midlife Revolution. I am Megan Connor. If you're here for the first time, welcome. Thank you to everyone who is returning once again. I am going to do a recap of this afternoon's day 2 of the Lori Vallow Daybell conspiracy trial here in Phoenix, Arizona. So I'm going to go sort of in reverse order this afternoon, evening, wherever you are. I did a live this afternoon earlier to recap what happened during the morning session of court. So if you want to know about that, you can go back and watch that and then come back to this, or you can stay live, whatever you want to do. I just want you to know that it's out there. So I actually put out 2 things this morning. Earlier this morning, I put out a video about the Nephi and Laban story that some people asked. Actually, a lot of people asked some questions about that story that Trina Kay referenced in her opening statement. I thought she did a great job of condensing it and making it really easy to understand. But a lot of people still had questions. And so I did a little video about that story, and it's on my channel. I dropped that this morning. Then I did a little morning recap, and I know some people had some questions about that. And so I do want to answer some of those questions, and then we will get into what happened this afternoon. It was quite a eventful day in court. Lots of things happened. And it's just really interesting because, we're only on day 2, and it feels like each session has been its own separate day. It just feels like there's so much going on. And this is a really complicated case, so it makes sense. I'm so grateful that you guys are here. Welcome. Please hit the like button if you can. And for ways that you can support the channel, subscribing is the best free way to support the channel. I also do have a Patreon, which will be, it's already in the episode description right now. And in addition, I do have a Venmo. It's at _verse. For those of you who don't like to give money to this platform, I completely understand. I have had so many generous people contribute to the pizza fund and the snack fund and the coffee fund. I appreciate it so much. You guys have no idea how much I appreciate it. I really do, because this is a taxing way to live at this moment. To be going back and forth, trying to get weekends at home with my kids and trying to manage everything that's going on with them while I'm here in court and reporting, sharing all of this with you lovely people. And I'm also trying to squeeze in some self-care, because this is also really emotionally draining for me too. So I'm doing the best I can, and you guys are really helping out a lot. Cleo C, thank you so much for this super sticker. I appreciate it. So I'm going to start with some questions from my live this morning, if I can pull them up, if I can get to the right place. Okay, so this is from Anne Marie. She says, remember how Alex came out of Lori's house with his glasses on his head? If I had been just giving CPR, I doubt I would have had my sunglasses neatly on my head. Alex did. Yeah, so that was something Trina Kay pointed out in her opening statements. And I'm scanning through for the first time. I'm looking at these comments. I didn't have a chance to look at them. I literally got in my Uber and came directly over here, set up my computer and turned it on. So I haven't looked at them yet. So I'm just going to scroll through real quick. Ariva Gabri says, Lori, about the color shirt Charles was wearing. Like, that was important. She should have asked what size shoes he had, or if he changed his underwear that morning. How is the color of his shirt relevant? It's really not. And I think that what we're seeing from Lori is a lot of filler questions. There are a lot of things that she's asking just to ask somebody something and to just have a narrative. I think she feels like she's competent if she asks a lot of questions. And so I think some of that is definitely filler. So lots of thank yous, lots of love, and I appreciate you guys so much for all the kindness and support that you're sending my way. It really does mean a lot. It helps me to just validate that I'm here. I'm doing the right thing by being here. It feels good to me to process through all of this with you guys, and so I really do appreciate all of it. We do have a live chat over at my Patreon. It's not really a live chat. It's just a trial chat. If you have questions or you want to chat about the trial, you can join my Patreon for free and participate in that chat and some of the other things that I post. And then if you're a paid member, you get access to some more behind the scenes things and extra content that you actually get to decide what content that I post on my Patreon. So the pool party, there's a police recorded phone interview with the landlord. And I always thought, I've heard that phone call. I always just thought because I'm sorry, just lost my words for a second. Because our family is a big family, okay? Anytime we get together with more than one family, our kids getting together, there was always a pool involved. When I heard the landlord talk about that, I just assumed that it was family just getting together and, that they're kind of loud and that's just kind of how it is. But now hearing the detective refer to it as as Lori actually calling it a pool party, that's what did it for me. So we can put that to bed. We can put that to rest. There was in fact a pool party. Some people apparently weren't invited. So I just am super grateful for the questions. Thank you. Laura Good 8564 says what are your thoughts on how empty the house was and the state of the kids' rooms? The lack of furniture and beds for the kids makes me think she might have known she wasn't going to be staying there long and that the kids were going to disappear. So why set up rooms for them? Do you know how long Lori was living there before Charles and the kids were unalived? So I am going to address that in the afternoon recap that I'm about to do right now, because there were lots of crime scene photos from that were pictures of the house as they went through the house room to room. So I'm going to talk about that. Where are Charles's sons, says Joel Roberts. I've not seen a video of them at all. The last thing that I heard is that Charles's sons are really trying to keep a low profile. They don't want to be involved in any of the public proceedings or the publicity. And they have every right to their privacy. So I hope that they are taking care of their mental health and well-being right now, because I'm sure that this is difficult for them. And, each family member grieves in a different way. Each family member has a different way of handling this whole situation, being involved, not being involved. For example, when the crime scene photos were shown and some of the video that actually was not blurred anymore, where Charles was visible, Kay and Charles's sister did not want to see that. Jerry, Charles's brother, said, I want to see everything. And I'm somewhere in between there. So we all do it differently. So I hope his sons are doing well. Miss Shinelon says, is there a chance the jurors will ask why Tylee isn't a witness? She's been identified as one of the people at the crime scene, and I don't believe the jurors have been told of her fate. Am I understanding that correctly? That's right. They're not allowed to know about Lori's previous convictions. They're allowed to know that she was convicted, but not what she was convicted of. And that's only if the door is open. Now, again, I said this morning, one of the people, Lori questioned them, what did you review in preparation? And he mentioned his Idaho testimony. None of that was brought up outside of the jury's presence. So I'm guessing it wasn't a problem. But I did ask someone, court staff today, if that was going to come in, and they didn't know, but they were going to ask the prosecutor and let me know. Mountain Girl says, Alex seems practiced at harming others. I wonder how many others and how far back it goes. Any thoughts? Well, I can't speak to how far back it goes or when it started, but I really do believe that he had a history of violence against Lori's boyfriends, whether it was threatening them or actually hurting them. It was always kind of the macho thing to do, to say like, oh, you're going to hurt my sister, I'm going to beat you up, kind of a thing. Francine Lee 4129 says, I'm awful at English, not the way I speak or write. I hated my teacher, though, just awful at algebra. I don't think it makes you stupid. I wanted to ask, when a juror asks a question, do you know which juror it is? Why would you ask those kinds of questions? They're asking medication about starting the heart when he was shot in the heart. Weird. That happened during Jodi Arias' trial too. She had one sympathetic juror who saved her from the death penalty in her first trial as a mistrial. It only takes one juror, and that's correct. I did go over those jury questions in my morning live. And in just a second, we're going to talk about what happened just after we came back from lunch. And it involves this question, which I will answer. Okay. So I appreciate it. Thank you for the question. And I think we're almost there. Yeah, we're there. We're there. Okay, good. So that answers all the questions from this morning's live. Again, it's there for you if you want it, if you need a recap. There it is. Crash, thank you so much for the super sticker. And Deanna Showers, thank you so much for the super sticker. Yeah,
it doesn't answer all of them. I have a couple more.
Okay, definitely. This is going to go to snacks for sure. And Sarita Banana, thank you for becoming a member. And One Big Doodle, thank you for the coffee fund. I'm going to have a good cup of coffee tomorrow. Okay, so Irish Jen, who is the best mod in the whole wide world, I don't care what anyone else says, says, Megan, I got to thinking, could it be that Tylee knew about the plot to kill Charles, grabbed the bat to help Charles instead of to protect Lori? Ooh, that's from Ashley Ray Carter. That's a great question. Honestly, when I start thinking about all these different scenarios, I sort of start to get foggy about the whole situation. And I need to remind myself of what the facts are and try to stick to the facts and try to stick to the actual evidence that we have rather than trying to speculate. Because if we speculate, we can come up with all kinds of different scenarios, right? And so what for me personally, I just have to make peace with the fact that there are some things I'm not going to ever get a definitive answer to. And I just have to take what the facts are and apply it to my reasoning and what I think is most likely to happen. Because I've heard just about every theory about all of this, right? And every time I hear a new theory and I start thinking about it, I'm like, it sort of just boggles my mind a little bit. I do think that Tylee knew something was up. She was smart, right? She was not the kind of kid to just sit back and watch things happen without adding her commentary. And I'm speculating a little bit because I didn't know Tylee well, and I didn't know her in her later years. I only knew her as a toddler, right? So I'm piecing together things that other family members who were close to her and who loved her told me about Tylee. And so I think she did know some of what was going on. How much she knew, I don't know. There are some people who say that they think there was never an altercation, that the bat was never involved. They just grabbed it later. And there are some pretty good theories out there about the idea that the kids were in the house when this happened and that they witnessed it, right? So I don't really know what to say about that other than to just say it's a theory, it's a possibility. I tend to think that there is a grain of credibility to the fact that JJ was out in the car when this happened because of what Lori said. She used it as a chance to get a dig in at Charles by saying that he left a 7-year-old out in a running car. And so I tend to think there's a grain of truth to that. I also tend to think that because of Tylee's police interview, that there is some truth to the bat altercation, right? I don't think that necessarily that Tylee manufactured that whole thing or that Lori fed that whole thing to her. I don't think that Tylee would have gone along with the bat story if it was that far away from the truth. Do I think she was influenced by Lori? Absolutely. But I think that there is something to the idea that she may have had her bat. But we're going to go through some of that in this afternoon testimony because they talked a lot about the space and the logistics and everything else. So we'll go for it. We'll figure it out, or at least get to somewhere we think we can make peace with it. Linda Polson asks, why would Lori and her kids have a baseball bat in her house? Surely Alex brought that over for the conspiracy to be carried out. Well, Tylee said in her police interview that she wanted that bat because there was a time when she was alone, living alone in Alex's house, and she had that bat for protection. And I think during that time where Charles and Lori were separated, when Charles had JJ and Lori disappeared, I think during the time Lori disappeared, Tylee was living in Alex's house and she had the bat. So I think that was that. Everybody wants to know about the jurors and how they're receiving all of this. They are paying very close attention. They haven't really shown changes in facial expression to indicate anything that would make me think that they are either exasperated or I don't really read anything on their faces that is anything other than really paying attention, trying to focus on things. They were a little distracted today by some noise in the gallery behind me during one of the during one of the sidebars. They had the white noise going, and whenever that happens, the people in the gallery talk a little bit louder. Well, today they were so loud that some of the jurors were looking, and that's never a good thing. So one of the bailiffs came over, asked everybody to quiet down a little bit. Other than that, I can just say that the jurors look very interested for the most part. Towards the afternoon, I do notice them sort of fading a little bit and taking more breaks. Whenever there's a break in courtroom, they're also taking a break. So there's some of that going on. Trust me, if there's anything significant happening in the jury, I am watching them for their reactions to certain things. So I will definitely let you know. And so I think I answered this. They can't know. Well, I don't know. I don't think that they can even know that Tylee and JJ have passed. But Lori brought in that Alex had passed away during her opening. And I think she wanted to get that in because they would want to know, why is Alex not here to testify or to stand trial himself, right? So, goodness, there are a lot of these questions from this morning. Got to thinking, could it be that Tylee knew about the plot? Oh, I already did that one. Sorry. How long were the 2 phone calls with Alex after Lori left with the kids? I'm heartbroken knowing that Tylee and JJ having to hear whatever was said. So the first phone call was very short. It was about 3 minutes long. And I think that was while JJ was still in the car. And so I think they did Burger King, Walgreens, dropped JJ off, and somewhere in there is when the 3-minute phone call happened. It was after JJ was dropped off that the longer phone call happened. And, Lori could have put her earbuds in or whatever and had a semi-private conversation with Alex without Tylee knowing too much. Or she could have used that phone conversation to sway Tylee to the narrative she wanted her to believe. So there's that possibility too. But I think we'll find out a little bit more about those phone calls when we get the expert to testify about the data extraction, the text messages, and all of that. They may even have some recordings. I don't know for sure. Do you know what happened with the juror question for the paramedic? They didn't end up asking it. Juror question for the paramedic. I am going to address. Okay, so there were some questions. Well, the questions were, there was one that was asked about that they tried to administer any kind of epinephrine. The witness answered there wouldn't have been a reason to do that. It wouldn't have helped with trauma. And so that was the only one that I remembered that was a paramedic related, but I am going to address that almost right here at the beginning of the afternoon recap. The next one is, couldn't the prosecutor then ask, so what happened in Idaho that you reviewed? That's a good question. And that was the question I had, is like, does that open the door? Can she bring it in now? But the witness is gone now. I think the opportunity might be gone. I don't know. Thank you, Susan, for that. And then Deanna says, am I crazy, or did I hear Lori say in her opening statement that Tylee collected Social Security until she was 18? She didn't live to see 18. Well, she was eligible for it until she turned 18. That's how that works. So I think that's what that was. Then Nancy says, what did you think of Audrey Baraterio's bombshell in Lori's first trial? Well, that was definitely a big, huge bombshell. I did not expect to hear from a witness who was directly threatened by Lori and was still alive. I definitely didn't expect that. It was definitely a big bombshell. That was something that stayed with me for a really long time. And it was something that I had a really hard time dealing with. Thank you, Lori Roberts, for becoming a member. Yay. So Jen, I hope you're starring questions for me as we go today. I am going to just what I'm going to start with right now is I'm going to start with what happened right after we came back from lunch. So that's where I'm going to start. And then what I would like to do, I do have a couple of clips that I would like to play from today, but I'm not really prepared to do it at the moment. And I don't want to make you wait while I do that. So I may go back and do some clips at the end of this episode if I have enough time, if I have enough energy, or I may wait until tomorrow morning to do some things. I know I said I was going to go through clips this morning, but I ended up making the Nephi video instead. So we'll get it figured out. I feel a lot more peaceful about today. Yesterday, I was definitely burned out and running crazy trying to get everything in. And I definitely did too much. So I'm going to be a lot more selective with how I spend my time. So again, I appreciate you being here. Thank you for joining me. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Megan Connor. I'm host of the Midlife Revolution podcast, and I'm Lori's first cousin. And I was close with Lori and the Cox family until she got divorced from Joseph Ryan. So, it says that okay, never mind. I thought it said that a car was arriving for me, and I was like, that's not true. I did not order a car. Okay. So right as soon as we came back from lunch today, the judge said that there was a juror reported to have been on his phone during the proceedings. Cosmically Forsaken, it's so good to see you. Thanks for this. I appreciate it. And so the judge asked for that juror to be brought in to be questioned without the rest of the jurors there and off the record. So I don't know if you guys who are watching the live stream got to see this or not. So this is what happened. The judge informed the attorneys that there was a juror who was on their phone, reported to be on their phone, and he wanted to question the juror about what might have been said. And what was referenced is there were some very specific questions that were asked by the jurors in the morning, right? And we went over those, and they were very specific. In fact, as the questions were coming in, I was thinking to myself, I couldn't remember if there was somebody who said their occupation was in nursing or some other medical field, because I was thinking this is only something somebody in the medical field or adjacent to emergency medicine would know, or somebody who's been through something similar. And so I thought they were very specific. Well, the judge said right after these very specific questions came in, he received a report that someone was on their phone and then wrote a question and turned it in. So he was wanting to know, did this juror look something up or Google something in order to ask this question? So he called the juror in, asked the juror if he was on his phone during the proceedings. And he said, no. I think he thought the judge meant, like, were you calling someone? And he said, oh, my daughter texted me. And so I was texting with my daughter. And so then the judge asked him specifically, did you look up anything that has to do with this case? And did you Google anything? Did you speak with anyone else about the case? And he said, no, I definitely did not. And so the judge just asked him to please keep his phone turned off during the proceedings while he's in the courtroom. And then he sent that juror back. And then he said to the attorneys, he said, I'm inclined to just keep him on. I'm inclined to, that's not a problem. I don't think that's a problem. Does anybody have a problem with that? And actually, if I remember correctly, and maybe I'm not remembering this correctly, I think maybe that the prosecutor asked him, a follow-up question. No, that was a different time. So I'm getting that wrong. So anyway, thank you for this, Sarita Banana. Don't worry about answering all the questions. We're here for your words as we value you and your perspective. I appreciate that. Thank you. I do feel like it's important for me to answer as many questions as I can, because that's part of the reason I'm here. Sometimes I don't think of all the things. Thank you so much, Dee Dee, for this super sticker. And sometimes these questions are really good and they make me think, and they're things I haven't thought of. So I want to try to do that as much as I can. I realize I can't answer every single question. I don't get a chance to read every single, the entirety of every single comment. I have some filters in my YouTube studio where I can make sure if someone asks a question, I can try to answer it. But at this point, I used to say I read every single comment. Well, at this point, I don't. I read as many as I can, though, and I try to get to them. So if I miss something that is really important to you, you can always email me at askmegan@gmail.com. Debbie, thank you so much for gifting memberships. That's so kind of you. Hey guys, over 1,000 people in chat. If you're here new for the first time, welcome. I'm so happy to have you in this family of beautiful humans. Please take a second to like the episode. I would really appreciate it. So that's what happened right when we got back from lunch. And then Lori has had this ongoing objection to the scene agent who was about to testify being classified as an expert. And Lori's contention was, well, he could have just taken a weekend class. And how do we know he's an expert? And the judge previously answered this when she first entered this motion. Like, you can cross-examine this witness if you have a problem with something that he's saying, and you have a chance to ask him about his qualifications if you don't think that he should be an expert. But I'm not going to exclude him as a witness just because you don't agree that he's an expert. And so that was his final ruling today. He's not giving his opinion. There was a 15.1 statement that came in, and that was Lori's other thing. Her other argument was that he was just going to offer his opinion. Well, the point of an expert is that it's their expert opinion. It's not just their lay opinion. For example, if I have an opinion about a firearm, I'm obviously not an expert, right? But if I have an opinion about the way a particular operatic aria should be performed, I am an expert on that. So my opinion does carry some weight there because I've studied it, because I understand it, because I spent years doing it myself. So that's what qualifies somebody as, not, you have to be designated as an expert specifically, but he has expertise in this area. So that's what the prosecution was trying to say, is that he has expertise in this area. Hey, Justine, good to see you. And thank you for this super sticker. I almost forgot. I remembered a couple of times during the day, and I was like, oh yeah, I need to remember to mention this. 1 year ago today, I launched my podcast, The Midlife Revolution, and I launched my first 4 episodes that day. And so far, I think I am somewhere around 45-ish episodes in. And I've got some scheduled all the way to the end of the month. The podcast episodes are largely what I post here on my YouTube channel. However, there's nothing that I post on my podcast platform that's not here. But I don't post everything I do here on the podcast, if that makes sense. Certainly all my interviews, certainly all my static videos, but some of these lives are not really relevant to the podcasting platform. And I try to keep my podcast seasons restricted to one topic at a time. And so obviously a whole bunch of Lori Vallow podcast stuff is about to come out, as well as some of the commentary I've done on Ruby Frankie and other true crime things. So thank you guys all for the congratulations. It's really exciting. I've come a really long way in a year. And, I don't know a lot about YouTube statistics, but when I talk to people who do know things about statistics, they think my channel's doing really well. So this is a good thing. I'm really happy about it. Since this is my full-time gig now, I'm really enjoying it. I'm enjoying this work. I'm enjoying connecting with you beautiful human beings. And there's more research and rabbit holes to come. And so, as always, if you have suggestions about rabbit holes you'd like me to go down, I'm always open to something that is really interesting. And that's what I love about this, is that I get to research what's interesting to me at the intersection of what I also understand and what I can comment on. And a lot of that is human behavior, is human relationships. The Healthy Relationships podcast part is coming. That I'm so excited about that part. It's going to be a lot about healthy relationships. There are so many people who have asked me how to navigate communication and things like that. So I'm really excited for what's coming. It has been a crazy year. A year ago, Chad Daybell's trial was going on. So yeah, we've been through it together, guys. And I'm so happy to be here with you. And I'm so happy that we're still connected after all this time. Thank you. It is a big deal. And did you know, when I first started researching, starting a podcast, there are over 8 million podcasts out there. 8 million. Isn't that crazy? And the crazy thing is that only 1% of those podcasts post more than one episode. So I was winning on day one when I posted 4 at the same time. The people who helped me launch my podcast basically told me that, we should launch 4 episodes at once. That way people have something to consume until the next week when you post something. And I haven't been consistently posting every week. And I think that's where things took a little bit of a dip in the summer, when I wasn't as consistent about going every week. But as soon as I started being consistent, things started picking up again. And it's been great so far. And I just love it. I'm so excited to continue to do it. MB, I'm sending special love to you today and always. I did send you an email. I don't know if you got it. I hope that you did. But there was a question there and then it went away. I guess Jen decided she didn't want me to answer it. Just kidding. I don't know if I said thank you for this, Lori Life 360. Thank you so much. A year is a big deal, and it's a big deal to already have 2 seasons completed and working on my 3rd season. I just consider a season to be about 20 episodes and a specific topic. So that's where we are. And I'm so excited of where we're going to go from here. Thank you, Reflections of Me, for that super sticker. I appreciate you. And Tater K, if you found me on Mormon Stories, I did my Mormon Stories episode on May 1st of 2023. And that feels like a lifetime ago. That whole first year I was appearing on other people's podcasts and then decided to start my own. So thank you so much, Susie Catherine. I appreciate this. I appreciate all your support, everybody. Okay, so here's MB's question. Yesterday's opening statements reminded me of a sacrament meeting talk. Thoughts? Many said it was good. It was, but it was a Mormon talk, in my humble opinion. Yeah, I said if I was going to have a title for the opening statement, it would be Like Nephi. And then I went to the LDS.org website and I Googled Be Like Nephi, because that's kind of a common theme in Mormonism, that they want us to be like Nephi. In fact, when I was serving in the presidency of the children's organization, the theme for the entire year was, how can I be more like Nephi? And so that's why I made that video this morning, because I feel like people who are not in the Mormon space, they don't realize how significant that is in Mormonism and what they were talking about and what they were relating it to. So if you need a primer on that, you can go there. I also have a playlist on my channel called Mormonism 101, where I was snarkily commenting on the secret lives of Mormon wives, which I haven't even finished the 1st season yet because it's so mind-numbing. But I did a lot of Mormonism 101 there too, because I felt like a lot of people watching that show didn't really know the significance of some of the things they were talking about. So yeah, that's my opinion. Thank you, Ms. Mojo. Always good to see you for this super sticker. I appreciate you so much. Yeah, Nephi and Laban's story reminds me of fan fiction like Hebrew apocryphal stories like Judith or the Maccabees. And there's good evidence that Joseph Smith lifted a lot of his material for the Book of Mormon. So that's a rabbit hole for another day. We will do it another time. Thank you, Shy Gal 8, for the super sticker. I appreciate you. Okay. Hopefully we can get to some more testimony. Absolutely. Yes, I've seen Heretic 4 times. And I bought it so that I could watch it again because it was absolutely amazing. I have a lot to say about it, but I, at the time, did not have the time to say anything about Heretic. So I probably should do an unpack of that, even though it's not immediately relevant right now, but I absolutely loved that movie. Diane L. says, do you think the jurors asked about Tylee yet, since there was a question passed down? No, I don't think that they have. They've read out all the questions so far. How do I join your channel? So if you go to, if you click on the icon, the Midlife Revolution, or if you click on the name that's underneath the video, it'll take you to my YouTube page, and there should be some tabs there where you can subscribe, you can hit notifications, and then if you scroll the tabs all the way over, there's a membership button over there, way on the end. Although I will say only the lowest level of memberships are going to stay after this month is over. And the more expensive memberships, the $14.99 membership, that's over on Patreon now, if you want that kind of bonus content. I don't know if the jurors know who Nephi is, but I do, like I said, I do think that Trina K did a really good job of synopsizing that Nephi and Laban story so that they could understand at least the correlation is Nephi killed somebody, Alex and Lori killed somebody. So I think that's what they were trying to do. I would definitely go with Heretic first. It was very, well, if you appreciate something that is cerebral and something that is a little more intellectual, I would go with Heretic. Apartment 7A was more straight line devil demon stuff. So there's that. Yeah, if you're on mobile, joining for YouTube is a little different. Go to your computer and join. It's a little bit easier to join from your computer. Larry has not been in the courtroom yet. He is okay. As far as I know, I've been checking in with Kay. He's taking care of another one of their grandchildren right now. And I don't know how much he'll be able to be here, if at all. I really hope that he comes for some of it because I love hanging out with Larry. He is the best. Okay, so let's go ahead and finish up or go on with what happened in the afternoon. So the ending of the expert witness objection is that, Lori, you can cross-examine this guy if you don't like him. He's going to be here. He's going to testify. Trina K pointed out that he attended the autopsy, and so he can testify much more intelligently about the trajectory, because he was there to actually see the autopsy and for the medical examiner to walk him through all of that. And then Lori said that she had an objection over what he was going to testify to. And she said, I'll stipulate to the fact that there were 2 shots, but how is the trajectory relevant? Well, duh. The trajectory is relevant, Lori, because you're claiming self-defense. And so if he was on the floor, that kind of ruins that. So she doesn't even really understand why trajectory needs to be brought in, which just goes to her ignorance. Oh my gosh, Nana of 7, thank you so much. Lori's going on with nonsense. I worry about the jury getting confused and exhausted. My sister was, I'm so sorry, in Arizona 50 years ago. I'm glad you're there to bear witness for the victims. There really is never any justice. Take care. Thank you so much, Nana. This means so much to me. Yeah, I'm here because I care about the truth. I'm here because justice for Charles is important. And there's just nothing that can replace showing up in that way. And that's why I want to be here. I really don't think that the jury is getting confused by Lori. I think it's really apparent to everybody in the courtroom that she doesn't really know what she's doing. Her arguments are not well thought out. She definitely is having a hard time piecing together the facts and even asking intelligent questions. And so I don't think that the jury is confused by anything that she's doing. I think she's showing her ignorance. And I think that they're seeing it, so I think that's a good thing. She's, the prosecutor is giving her a lot of leeway to say what she needs to say. And I think it's convicting her without the prosecution really having to do a lot. And so, yes, oh my gosh, this was great. The expert witness got snarky with Lori at the end of the day, and I was here for it. He was not having it. You can tell there are some witnesses you can tell that just don't like her and they don't want to be agreeable. And so she asks a bad question. They don't help her out. Like, for example, there was one time when Lori asked, what did you do after calling the medical examiner? And he said, we waited. I mean, he could have gone on and said, well, we waited for the coroner. Then when the coroner got there, we whatever. You asked me this specific question. I'm only answering that, and that's it. So, yeah. I am going to talk about her shoes, but not right now. I'm just starring questions as I go through here and real quick. Okay. So Detective Kuntz takes the stand. He is a sniper instructor. He's an expert in ballistics. He is also a shooting reconstruction expert. And no, Lori, he didn't just take a weekend class. He took a 40-hour class. Actually, I was kind of deflated when he said that because I was hoping he was going to say it was going to be like a 6-month course or something. But he did have to pass an examination at the end of that class. And then he has to continue to recertify as a shooting reconstruction expert. He, during that class, both got to witness and document, and then also got to create some scenes and document that as well. And then that's continuing recertification. So he has to take tests for that as well. There was an objection to one of the exhibits that was entered, and it was a floor plan of the rental house. And the state, or I guess the judge, asked if there was any objection. Oh my gosh, Anne-Marie, thank you so much. Thanks for the Venmo, Anne-Marie. That's really kind of you. Gosh, so kind. You people are beautiful. Sorry. I am humbled by you guys all the time. Anyway, she was asked by the judge if there was an objection to this drawing or to this floor plan that was going to be introduced as evidence. And she said, there's no objection, but sorry, I was trying to star that and I showed it instead. She said, there's no objection, but if it's not to scale, I don't see how it's helpful. Okay. Well, then when they put the floor plan up there on the screen, obviously it was helpful because we, for the first time, got to see the bird's eye view of the floor plan of the house. We got to see where all the bedrooms were located, where the shooting took place, where the evidence was found. And it was very eye-opening to see that. Yes, it's not to scale. It's not exactly to scale, but yeah, it's helpful, Lori. It's necessary, Lori. Just shush, okay? Sweary Poppins, you are my favorite. Thank you so much for this super sticker. I'm going to be saying Sweary Poppins forever. I just love it so much. Is this a house for ants? Maybe that was her argument, is that if it's not to scale, then, how do we know it's even a house for human beings? This could be a doghouse for all we know. Maybe that was her argument. I don't know. DL says has some tea. Okay, read the autopsy report. I will come to that because we're going to get there. We're going to get there. Okay, so let's go on, or we're never going to get there because my notes are detailed. Okay, so then we saw the floor plan with the evidence markers, and I kind of want to pull this up. Irish Jen, I don't know if you're able to. Pull that video up, or do you have it on the slides that you sent me? Jen has been working overtime just for fun because she just is awesome. And I don't have anything from day 2, but you're going to send it. Yay. Okay. I want to pull it up just so we can look at the floor plan while we talk about this, because I think it's so important for people to see. This really opened my eyes to a lot of things that I did not realize before. And it really helped me see and solidify my sort of theories about what happened. And so I think it's really important for us to look at it. So we'll look at it, and I'll go on while we're getting that figured out. Then he talked about the Lizard Q program, which is a program that allows you to see things in 3D. It allows you to brighten the image if you need to, and it allows you to just have some different angles to see things. And so he was able to put the crime scene into that Lizard Q program and showed it to us. And that was when I think Kay left just before that. That was really, really difficult because it was, it just made the crime scene photos a lot more real. And that was tough for sure. So I've got slides from day 1, and you've got them labeled, and that's so freaking awesome. Thank you for that. I'm going to see if I can find the day 2 video here real quick. Okay. And I have the time stamp for that, so we'll see how that goes. Then he talked about evidence collection, and it was really important to the prosecutor to point out that the people processing the crime scene don't always know what evidence is relevant. And so sometimes they pick something up just in case it's relevant, but they don't necessarily, they have basically one shot to get everything out of there, and they don't always know exactly what's relevant. So sometimes there's a piece of evidence that is missing, and that's just how it goes sometimes. Then the witness was handed all of these exhibits, and it was something like 200 photographs. And there was a huge long delay because he had to go through and look at every single one of those photographs and make sure that it was, that they were the photographs that he had presented. So that took some time, right? And then they had to send that stack of photographs over to the defense table. And the defense table had to go through them and make sure that they were going to admit all of these exhibits. And then Lori said she had a problem because she said, well, some of these are just all so similar. And the judge said, do you mean cumulative, which is the legal term for similar? And she said, yes, Your Honor. She was being very demure about that. And so eventually she did, the judge, then the judge had to look through all of 200 of the photographs, which wasn't necessary, but then he did, because he said, well, I just want to make sure that there aren't duplicates, or, that there's nothing that is cumulative in here. So then he looked through all the photographs, and then basically he came out and said, they're not the same. They're taken from different angles. Again, just Lori showing her ignorance of, she looks at something and just dismisses it and doesn't even think that it's relevant when actually it is. So that's just super annoying. Then we talked about he went through some of the evidence that was collected, and here were some of the notes that I made. Some people have talked about Charles having his shoes off, or that his shoes were taken off or something. When I saw the crime scene photo, to me, it just looked like he came in and took his shoes off, just like out of habit. You take your shoes off when you come inside. It didn't look like anything nefarious, but then who knows? And then there was kind of a funny moment, and this was a heavy moment, right? Because we're looking at crime scene photos. We're seeing Charles's body over and over, and it's unredacted. It's not blurred. And that was really tough to have that up there all the time. It's hard just even to see another human being that has that has died. But also, just every time I see anything that has to do with Charles, I just think of that body cam footage about how hard he was trying to get help, and about how he was, he just loved Lori. He just adored her until she started doing all this crazy stuff. And it's just heartbreaking to me. It's just such a waste that she had somebody who loved her so much, even though she didn't deserve it. That's hard for me. So anyway, there was a little bit of a funny moment when they brought the bat out. The physical bat was there in the courtroom, and the prosecutor was asking if they tried to collect photographic evidence of any blood that might have been present on the bat. And she said, did you take pictures of the handle part of the bat? And then she said, did you take pictures of and they couldn't think of like the name for what you would call the top side of the bat. And he said, I'm sorry, I don't know bat nomenclature. Is it the fat edge of the bat? So I don't know if anybody out there is a baseball player and knows what you call that. I would love to have the scientific name for that. Then this gets me. The blood, they showed the blood on Charles's left hand. So after he was struck with a bullet in the chest, he put his hand there, and there was just some blood transfer from where he put his hand there. And then, he landed with his arms at his side. And so, that blood transfer was really important, because that was the only other blood other than what was on his chest and underneath his body. And do you remember that Trina Kay was saying in her opening statements that, she didn't say this in her opening statements. She said it to us before we went into the courtroom, the family people. She said that I like to tell the jury, and then I like to show the jury. And so she gave this wonderfully well thought out and very programmatic opening statement. And now she is methodically showing all of the evidence that proves that narrative that she put out there. So thank you for this, everybody. Everybody's saying it. Apparently everyone knows but me. It is I was trying to star that. It is the barrel. The business end of the bat is called the barrel. Thank you. I appreciate that. I should know that. It seems very obvious that that's what it should be. This is really funny. Amora Valesi, I always like your sense of humor. Lori objecting to the use of words like nomenclature because she probably doesn't know what it means. Objection, Your Honor. I don't know what that word means. Catsworth, thank you so much for this super sticker. I appreciate you. Okay, so then, so I went over that. Sorry, just trying to make sure I get to all of my notes here. So I made some notes about the evidence that we were shown today. There were 2 bedrooms in this house, and here's where I really want to see if I can pull up the YouTube video So I've got, I don't want news. I want the actual, okay, here we go. Yay, Hidden True Crime has the live stream here. So what I'm going to do is, this was at, what was the timestamp? It was at 1:54, and it was like right after Daniel Coons took the stand. So I'm going to try to fast forward through. This was the afternoon. Yeah. Oh, there it was. I saw it. I saw it. Okay. Yay. Let me share my screen. Okay, just rewinding just a tiny bit from here.
So for this particular,
there it is.
In the photographs.
Okay, I'm gonna large screen this. This is important to me because I'm a visual person, and I don't know if the rest of you are visual people, but this is important to me. Somebody mentioned they're Googling a lot. Yeah, I'm sitting there with my chat GPT open so that I can look stuff up. And I've looked a couple things up, especially when the jurors asked those very specific questions. I was like, oh, I want to know too. Hey, Tina, thank you so much for this super sticker. That's so kind of you. Thank you. I'm going to eat really well tonight. I'm going to have a nice celebration dinner and a glass of champagne because I deserve it. So as we go through this, you can see, and I'm going to try to get can I get my pausing off of this? Oops. What did I do? Did I open my own video? I did something weird. Oh, Jen's got it up there. Okay, got you. Okay. Where is it? Here it is. Okay. So let me see if I can, I don't think it's going to take that off of there. So we've got Detective Daniel Coons' name down there at the bottom that's blocking just a little bit. But I just want to point out, and I'm not looking at chat right now, but I want to point out that this is the front entrance of the house right here that I've got my cursor on it, if you can see it or not. Okay. And this is obviously where Charles Vallow was when they came in. And these two bedrooms back here, this is the second bathroom, and these are the kiddos' bedrooms back here. So there's one bedroom that has blue paint and one bedroom that has pink paint. The one that has pink paint is the one that Alex was staying in. And that's where they found we saw this picture this afternoon of a grocery bag and a black backpack. And then there was also a black garbage bag and an orange duffel bag. And that's where they found the gun and 2 extra magazines. Why in the world would he need 2 extra magazines? I mean, I know he liked to shoot, and he did say that maybe they were going to shoot. He said that in his police interview. You can see the recording of the police interview. He said, I don't know, maybe we're going to go shoot. But he told like 4 different stories about what they were potentially going to do or not do that day. So it's super frustrating to me that they didn't see that as an inconsistency, because originally he said, I don't know, see a movie or something. And then he said, I don't know, we weren't really going to do anything. And then he said, oh, maybe we were going to go shooting. So anyway, frustrating to say the least. I also noticed that in the orange duffel bag, where there was a single shell live round that was found, and then there was a clear plastic baggie that looked like it might have had white rubber gloves in it. And then there was another little thing where you could see there were some Huggies wipes. So I was curious to know if maybe that those wipes were there to remove fingerprints, gunshot residue. Maybe those rubber gloves were there to put the gloves on before he shot. I don't know. But I guess if it's relevant, we're going to hear about it. If it's not relevant, we're not going to hear about it. But the thing that was the most really telling to me, and I mentioned this in my live this morning, is that seeing the layout of the house and seeing the position of Charles's body, really now, I had it backwards. I thought that his head was on the opposite side. But this solidifies for me, I really believe that when Alex said that he went back into his room to get his gun and then came out and shot him, I believe that's what happened. Because listen, Lori and Alex are not that creative. I think that there is truth in almost everything that they said. For example, that's why I think that there is a reason. That's why I think that JJ was actually in the car when the shooting occurred. That's the reason I think that, is because they're not creative enough to think of a whole different thing that happened, right? I think they took the truth and just bent it and twisted it. And this is where, the prosecutor said in her opening statement that after that phone call, Alex started to make mistakes. I'm excited to hear about that. But this is what I think happened. I do think JJ was in the car. I do think that there was something that went on with the bat, because I don't think Tylee would have made up that whole story, even after being swayed by Lori. And then I also don't think, my brain just glitched. So yes, I think JJ was in the car. Yes, I think there was something to do with the bat. But I think that what happened was probably they didn't have a big, huge altercation. I think maybe there was a little bit of something that happened. I think Lori really did take his phone. I think maybe he was insistent about getting his phone back. But I think at some point, Alex was like, hang on, I'll be right back, and went into the back into the bedroom, and that Charles was standing there waiting for Alex to come out. And Alex came out and pew-pewed before Charles even knew that there was a weapon involved. That's kind of what I think. I do think it was an ambush in that way. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I could be completely wrong by that. I'm happy to be proved wrong by the evidence. But just seeing this photo and seeing where he was lying, and then also hearing the testimony from this expert witness that basically said he did believe that the shooter was standing in this little area right here when he fired the first shot, not back here. He really thought he was firing from here, and then potentially fired the second shot from the same location. There was a lot of back and forth between Lori and the witness about whether or not the shooter moved. That we'll go over that in a little bit. There was a lot of evidence that was introduced where it was what they found in the bedrooms. They bagged it as evidence. And then always the protocol is, if the prosecution is going to bring in evidence, they have to bring it in. They have to have the witness identify it, that yes, this is the evidence I collected. Then they have to present it to the defense and say, do you have any objection? And the defense reviews it and says, no, I don't have any objection to this coming in. Well, of course, Lori had an objection because she loves to object. The evidence that was coming in were the things that were found in the backpack. And they removed a piece of the flooring and put that in a baggie. And then there was a gun box that contained the gun and the extra ammunition. They gave the gun box to Lori, and she says, well, how do I know that this is the actual thing? Does it have a serial number or something? No, Lori, the evidence doesn't have a serial number. That's not how this works. It's just... So moving on from all of that weirdness, this is where Trina Kay did a great job of pointing out with the detective, there was no residual blood found anywhere else in the house. And they went through the entire house. They looked at all of the pictures from the entire house. And I'll show it again because somebody asked a question about where's the kitchen. So I just want to point this out. So this is the front door. You come in the front door and the kitchen is right here where you see the orange. Those are the countertops for the kitchen. This orange with the two little holes are the two bathroom sinks right here, toilet, tub, shower. Here's one bedroom. Here's the other bedroom. And so Tylee and JJ, I believe, were staying in the same room. And what they said was that what they found in the far west bedroom. So what you can't see on the drawing is that up here, there's an arrow that says north is pointing this way. Okay. So if north is here, west is here, east is here, south is here. And detectives said that we found in the far west bedroom, so the farthest west, this one right here. And so that means this was where Alex was sleeping, so Tylee would have come out of this bedroom. I want to go back and review Alex's and Lori's interviews at the police station, because now that I've seen a floor plan, I want to understand what their story was, because their stories were slightly different about what happened with the bat and the altercation, etc. And I do agree with this too. I don't think Charles ever hit Alex with a bat. First of all, a bat doesn't cause a laceration. And secondly, Charles was a semi-professional baseball player. If he had hit Alex with a bat, Alex would not have gotten up. And we would none of us would be here. Oh, you can't see my pointer. I'm so sorry. I hope you can sort of figure it out from what I'm saying anyway. And then this area over here, this is, so you come in the front door. If you turn left from the front door away from Charles's, where Charles was laying, there is a laundry room to the left. To the right is a sort of office space studio, which, guys, riddle me this. Why is it, again, that Tylee had to give up her room for Alex when there's this whole other bedroom in here with space? There was no, maybe they didn't have an extra mattress or something like that, but definitely Tylee didn't have to give up her room. That was just rude and mean. And then so that's to the right. And then there's a little powder room right here. And then if you turn right down the hallway, this is the main bedroom here and the main bathroom. So we're going to talk a little bit more about what was in the bedrooms and what wasn't. But I think it's really, really important to say first that there was no blood in any of these other places, not in the blue room, not in the pink room, not in the hall, not in the kitchen, not in the office, not in the laundry room, not in the second bathroom, not in the main bedroom, not in the main bathroom. And the reason that Trina K said that was important to note is because Alex claimed to have had this wound, but there was no residual blood found anywhere. Nowhere. He never touched it. There was no blood transfer anywhere. And so if he had in fact been injured by Charles during an altercation, there would have been blood evidence somewhere. They would have found something somewhere. Even though it was a small laceration. And somebody said earlier, and it just cracked me up, that he probably went outside and rubbed the back of his head against the stucco. That would have been hilarious if that was actually the case. So the front of the house is down towards the bottom of your screen. The big open space toward the bottom of the screen is the garage. And right to the right of that, right next to that, is the front door. So the exterior of the house is towards the bottom of your screen, or the front of the house. Then let's talk for a second about what was there and what wasn't there. And I want to fast forward to the part where they go through these photos of the house. I am like a dummy. I'm trying to do the scroll on the wrong screen. Sorry guys, sometimes my brain doesn't connect properly. Little glitches in my brain. Okay, so I think we're now getting to photos of the house. Where was this? This was at 329 and that one was at 150. Okay, so we have quite a ways to go here before we get to pictures. Here we go. So they had pictures of all of the evidence that was collected, but I don't want to really show. Oh, and they panned away from the thing when I want to see where we took our break. Sorry, I'm just trying to get timing figured out. This was at 329. So this was before the break. So thank you guys for being patient. Well, okay, here we go. Here we go. Here are some pictures of the house. Maybe it will help if I'm just going to mute it and go through it on 2x speed so that I can get to the pictures that are relevant. So again, thanks for being patient, you guys. They spent a lot of time talking about the dent in the floor underneath Charles, and that was kind of important as well. So these are the pictures of the evidence that was collected. I really wanted them to go. I wanted to see the bedrooms first, though, if I can find it. This was all about the gun box, all of that was collected. Okay, here we go. I think this is the right place, guys. Yeah. Okay, so here's the hallway. And I wish we could scroll back and forth because that would make more sense. Okay, that's the main bathroom, main shower, main bathroom's vanity. This is the powder room. They're pointing out there was nothing in the trash that was blood evidence at all. Nothing on the kitchen faucet. So maybe I missed these other, the rest of the house. Okay, maybe that was back here. Shoot, I'm sorry, you guys. I'm not able to find it at this particular moment. I'll try to find it for if I do a live tomorrow, because I think it's important to note what was there and what wasn't there. If you watch the live stream and you've seen these pictures, you can corroborate what I'm about to say. In the kids' bedrooms, we talked about this morning. There were mattresses on the floor, and they basically just had like a fitted sheet over the mattress. I didn't see any regular sheet. I didn't see any blankets, comforters, pillows, sleeping bags, none of that. Now, I don't know what the house looked like when they moved in. They had been there 3 weeks, I believe, is what Lori said. And it's very possible that the house was already painted. That's possible. However, knowing Lori, and when I moved into the apartment with Adam and Lori, one of the first things she wanted to do was like spruce it up, get some decorations, let's make it look pretty. So it wouldn't surprise me if they had painted those rooms after they moved in, even though they'd only been there for a couple of weeks. Let's give her the benefit of the doubt and say that she did paint those rooms specifically for JJ to have a blue room and Tylee to have pink walls with a cute black and white on the back. Hey, Queen of Petty, good to see you. So let's give her the benefit of the doubt there, right? But there are no dressers. Their clothes are all over the place. No blankets on the beds. But do you know what there is? When you go into the living room, hang on, this video is playing in the background and it's driving me cuckoo. In the living room, there is a couch. And guess what is hanging on the wall in the living room? Pictures of the temple. Guess what is on the wall in that front entry room? Mirrors. Those mirrors were not there when they moved in. That the landlord said that. In the kitchen, picture of the temple. In the office, picture of a temple and a desk and a chair. In Lori's bedroom, bed frame, mattress, blankets, pillows, throw pillows, fully decorated, sort of. Nightstands, 2 nightstands, one on each side, a lamp. There, Lori took care of herself. She did not even get bed frames for the kids. Not even just a regular old, what do you call that? You know, when you buy a mattress and all you do is you get the little mattress stand that it stands on without any like headboard or anything that goes with that. Not even one of those. This is what was going on. No furniture in the house, but a nice master bedroom. No beds for the kids. They were sleeping on mattresses on the floor. I mean, at least they had mattresses. But after 3 weeks, you should have beds. Please and thank you. And Lori did. She got what she needed. She got what she wanted. The kids came second, third, fourth, or something. Ashley Ray, the reason we're mentioning the mirrors is because Lori loved to dance. She loved to have these mirrors that she could dance in front of. And we know that she took videos of herself dancing in front of those mirrors and sent them to Chad. We know that Charles said in the previous house that they lived in, he made sure that she had a room that she could dance in. And then there she was sending videos to Chad of her dancing while she was still married to Charles. Thank you so much, Carol Lou. Have some tariff-free snack money from Canada. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I've got a son-in-law who's from Canada, and he keeps trying to get me to try those ketchup flavored potato chips, and I don't think so. I don't think so. Terry Huey, thank you so much for the super sticker. I don't know if I put that up on the screen or not. It might be too far back for me to find. Oh, there it is. Yay. Thank you so much, Terry Huey. I appreciate that, if I didn't say so already. So yeah, I just wanted to point that out. I thought that was super important that Lori took care of herself. She took care of her needs. She made sure that she had the stuff that she wanted in her bedroom, but the kids had barely anything. I don't think they were packing for a quick exit yet. That we weren't to that point yet. I don't think that there was a plan. Maybe there was a plan to go to Idaho at this point. I don't know, but their lease was up at the end of that month, at the end of August. And so she had to go somewhere at the end of August. And it's weird because I don't know why the lease would be end up at August. Maybe they only did a 3-month lease. I don't know. That's definitely possible. Again, there's a lot of stuff that we're speculating about here. Thanks, Melissa, for the Venmo. I really appreciate that. I'm trying not to get super distracted. Kelly D, thank you so much for the super sticker. You guys are so kind. I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. So anyway, it's important to note what's not there and what is there. I think I counted 4 pictures of the temple in total. 4 pictures of the temple on the walls in there, but yet the kids didn't have bed frames even. Crazy. So after this testimony, basically towards the end of this testimony, this detective testified that he believed that Alex was standing in the hallway or just outside it for the first shot, and then at or near Charles's feet for the second shot. And Charles was definitely on the ground when that second shot was fired. He said that there is no way for the impact on the floor behind Charles's body, the position of the body, to bear out any other conclusion other than that Alex was close to Charles, most likely in the hallway, and then that the second shot happened when he was on the floor. And so that doesn't support self-defense, if you ask me, or any reasonable person, because if you're shooting someone in self-defense, probably, first of all, you probably don't want to shoot the person. And secondly, you're trying to shoot them to stop them. And so you could shoot them in the leg. You could fire a shot at the floor in front of them. There are lots of ways that you could handle that situation, especially with a man with whom there had been no prior physical altercation. There had been no prior physical abuse of any kind. He was not a violent person. I don't think Alex was scared of him at all. So none of the conditions that normally would exist under a self-defense scenario existed here. Charles was unarmed. Even if he had a baseball bat in his hand, if Alex had given him a warning and said, back up, he probably would have done it, right? I'm very frustrated. Very, very frustrated. Okay, thank you for saying this, Elizabeth Prince. I suspected something. The landlord told her she had to vacate at the end of August because the neighbors were freaking out that there was a gunman living in their neighborhood. Yeah, well, Alex didn't live with Lori. He lived in Santan, which is just a little ways away, Santan Valley, I think. And they probably were freaking out that there was a shooting incident happen. And Alex did frequent the neighborhood, right? He was around all the time. Now, every single time I say right after something, I second guess myself because I called out Lori for doing that as a way to try to manipulate people. So I'm sorry if you all feel manipulated. I apologize. I'm not trying to manipulate you. Okay. So I'm telling you guys, I'm staying in this place. And I think I said I didn't sleep well last night because every single time the air conditioner comes on, the door sucks inward. And I think there's somebody coming in the door. So I'm going to try to find a way to put a towel over there, fix it or something like that. I don't know. Chi-Town, thank you so much for the super sticker. I appreciate it. So kind. I always like seeing your name because I had a student with a nickname of Shy and I loved it. So at this point, the prosecution was finished questioning the witness. He said what she wanted him to say, and Lori asked for a minute to defer with her advisory team. She means confer. I'm going to have to call her out every time she says something dumb. So she conferred for quite a while with her advisory team. And then the judge said, are you ready to cross-examine? And Lori said, well, she said, Judge, this is an important cross and I don't want to be interrupted. So she started to say, I'd rather do it tomorrow. And the judge says, well, it's 4:00 and we're going to get it started. So, and then immediately sidebar, yet another sidebar. Now here's what's curious. And I'm interested to hear your opinions about this. What ended up happening after the sidebar is that Lori was excused out of so first of all, the jury left the courtroom. So usually when the jury leaves, that means they need to discuss something outside of the presence of the jury. Well, that didn't happen. The jury left, and then Lori left with her bailiff out the prisoner door. And everybody was kind of like, what is going on? I thought maybe she needed a bathroom break before she did cross-examining. My friend Lauren said maybe she was just trying to kill time because she's not prepared. Was it Lauren that said that? I'm sorry if I'm misquoting anybody. Thank you so much, Amor, for a doorstop. I appreciate that. I don't know. I can't tell if there's just a tiny bit of a gap under the door. So maybe if I put something in heavy in front of it, it won't do that. But I sure as heck am not sleeping without the air conditioning. It's freaking hot. So anyway, she came back after a little while, all smiles, and nobody said anything else about it. So I think it was one of two things, personally. I think either she needed a bathroom break, or I think it's possible that maybe there was a problem with her shock belt and that she had to have it adjusted or something like that. I don't know. What do you guys think? Yes, the house had a pool in the yard. I've heard so many people say this, that they think that Lori took the second shot. It's kind of a fantastical idea, that Alex handed the gun off and I don't think that happened, you guys. I think it was boom, boom. I think that's all it was. And I honestly don't even know if she was in the house when that shot was fired. Yes, Mormon and LDS are one and the same. They are one and the same. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, their main scripture is the Book of Mormon. So they have the nickname of Mormon. So they are one and the same. They don't like to be called Mormon, though, because the current president of the corporation of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has said that using the nickname is a victory for Satan because you're leaving out the name of Jesus Christ. And so they spent millions of dollars on the I'm a Mormon campaign and said they were proud to be Mormon. And then all of a sudden this other dude took in charge and he was like, no, we're not using the nickname anymore. He went so far as to issue a style guide and to issue a press release to all the press that said, if you're covering the church, we need you to use the full name of the church. So Mormon and LDS are the same thing. Sorry. I just always, I go down these little rabbit trails and I apologize. Totally off topic. But we have been talking about Mormonism. This is one of the most Mormon crimes ever. I don't think there's ever been an opening statement that quoted Mormon scripture before and told a Book of Mormon story before. So I think here we are. Okay. So then, Lori did finally decide to go ahead and participate in a cross-examination here. Mabel, thank you so much for the super sticker. Lori went to the powder room to put more makeup on to flirt with Detective Coons. Possible. I say Mormon. I'm a fan of calling people what they want to be called, but I say Mormon because there are over 100 of different splinter groups that identify as Mormon. And so when I refer to Mormons, I'm referring to all of Mormonism, not just the main LDS church. So I call them Mormon. I don't do it to offend anybody. I am trying to include all of the Mormons and all of the Mormonism. So Lori starts off by asking, how he, who he did. She asked Detective Coon some more qualifying questions about his work. And then she says, thank you for this, Beth Gaither. Do you get to hear questions from the jurors? Yes, we do get to hear those questions. And I don't know if you guys are hearing them or not, but the judge is reading those out. And so I would think that they would be on the live stream. But yes, we do get to hear what they ask. And I went over those this morning. And when there are more, I will definitely go over those as well. Okay, you do hear them. That's good, good, good. So she went over a little bit of his employment history, and then she asked if you ever worked for the Gilbert Police Department, because the reason she asked that is because the Gilbert Police Department is the one that was more involved in investigating the Tylee J.J. Tammy part of the case. She wanted to see if there's any bias. And she's asked for this before. She said, there are all these law enforcement agencies, and they're all talking about me behind my back, and I want to know what they're saying. That's not the way it works. Then how long was it until you wrote your report? And he says, I don't remember exactly. I sat down maybe a couple of days later. And she's been doing this over and over. Was it a week? Was it a month? Was it 2 weeks? She's always trying to get people to be nailed down to the time. And it's just frustrating because it doesn't freaking matter, right? And then we got another parking tutorial. She asked about parking. I noticed somebody asked about that before. Why she's asking about the parking in? I have no idea. I think it's because here's the thing. Lori cannot stand to be criticized for the tiniest little thing. Her ego is so fragile and she is so deeply insecure that anytime she gets criticized for the tiniest little thing, it's like she has to prove somebody wrong, that she didn't actually do that wrong. So previously we had a tutorial about parking, and I want to play that clip later, but they didn't even criticize her. They just said that you parked across the street over here. You could have parked somewhere else. And she was like, well, could I really have parked somewhere else? And we just got a tutorial about parking. So once again, she's asking about parking because she's still upset about being asked that question. And this is where this guy started to get snarky with her. And I loved it. I was here for every single second of it. Every time she would ask him a question, he would answer only the question she asked. And there were even a couple of times where she said that, sorry, lost my train of thought, where she would ask a question and the witness would say, I don't know what you mean by that. And look, a reasonable person could assume she meant this, but he wasn't going to help her out with that. I always thought that was excellent. I was chef's kiss, no notes, wonderful. There was this funny moment when she asked what they did after they left the crime scene or something silly like that. And he said something like, I don't remember exactly. And Lori said, sorry, I just don't know what you were doing there. She gave this little laugh. And it's like, why do you keep editorializing everything? And she gets reprimanded for this later. You wait. She's doing this silly thing where the detective or someone will answer a question and then she adds narrative to the end. Well, that is testifying, Lori, and you cannot do that. So anyway, she keeps adding on these little silly things. She asked this person, what is the speed of shooting? I'm sorry, what do you mean by that? Did you mean the rate of fire? Nobody said that. This is me saying, like, are you talking about like how quickly you can pull the trigger? And the guy said, well, it depends. It varies widely between who the shooter is, what the circumstances are, what the weapon is. All of those things come into play with the speed of how fast you can pull the trigger and shoot, more than once. And I think she was a little confused about what an automatic weapon was or what a semi-automatic, but the speed of shooting, that just doesn't make any sense. Then she asked, is center mass a common term? Yes. Center mass is a pretty common term. You do want to shoot someone center mass. She sort of reiterated her question and he said, yes, certainly if you're being attacked, you do want to try to shoot someone center mass. Then She said, is it common to say to center mass? No, that's not common. People don't use that. And she said, so when you're teaching people about shooting, you don't say to center mass? And he's like, no, I don't say that. Nobody says that. What you do is you teach them to shoot until the threat goes away. Kaylee, thank you so much for the super sticker. I appreciate you. What a cute flower. That makes me happy. So no, that's not something you teach. That's not something that you say. I think she was trying to get that in there because Alex probably at some point said to her that you need to shoot 2 bullets to the center mass. Yeah, he did not like that question. And I think Lori was trying to bolster this narrative of the self-defense thing where, yeah, it's just a commonly known thing that you shoot someone twice center mass. That's just what you do. It is. It's an insanely stupid question. It's insanely stupid. She doesn't know this is called the Dunning-Kruger effect. The thing that you need to know whether or not you're good at something is also the thing that you need to know whether or not whether you're bad at something. And so she doesn't know enough. She's not smart enough to know how bad she is at this. That's the bottom line. She doesn't know how to do this. She doesn't know how to ask the correct questions, and she doesn't know how to ask the question that needs to be asked in order to get the testimony that she needs to get into evidence. It's just ridiculous. So I'm a former soldier. Joe Neal says, thank you for your service. A controlled pair to center mass. Thank you. That sounds like something you would hear in gun instruction. That sounds like something that you would hear if you were taking a class, not something that you would hear if you were talking to some dude at the bar who likes shooting. 2 to center mass. That totally sounds like something Alex would say. I'm sorry. Angry. Then she asked a whole bunch of questions about where the shell casing goes. And again, by the time we got to the end of this ridiculous narrative about shell casings, we were all dumber from having listened to that testimony. Typically, shell casings go out of the gun to the right. It is possible to have a left-hand gun where the shells might possibly go out the other way, but that's incredibly rare. And no, Lori, they don't come out with any sort of force. And no, Lori, they're not going to leave an indentation on the wall. She said, well, you said that the casings hit the wall. Would there have been an indentation? Well, no, they're not moving fast enough for that. And even if you could see it, it would be so infinitesimally small that you couldn't detect it except maybe with a microscope. Whew, you can tell I've been in court all day and I'm tired of Lori. Because, yeah, I'm getting there. And so she said, do you know where the shell casings came out of this particular weapon? And he said, I haven't test fired it, so I don't know, but not to the left. Lori said, is it possible to have any gun where they go to the left? Well, could, but not this gun. What if you had a left-handed gun? Well, yes, some do, but it's incredibly rare. She said, is there such a thing as a left-hand gun? Because I don't know. I've never thought of that before. Is there such a thing as a left-hand gun? This is some of the narrative that we're talking about. You just ask the question. You don't add to it. You don't say, I wonder if physics works. I've wondered this for a really long time in my life, and I've never been able to figure it out. I don't really know what physics is like. So, and by this time, the witness doesn't even know what the question was. She's adding so much garbage to it. So the guy says, yes, it's possible you could have a left-hand gun. And Lori says, yeah, I think you'd want that if you were left-handed. Shh. Stop. Okay. Anyway, then she said, she was asking about, is it possible that the shell could have gone out of the gun to the right and then bounced to the left? And he was like, well, I suppose, I guess, like you're asking me to guess about when a metal object falls on a wooden floor, it's going to bounce or it's going to roll or something is going to happen to it that's unpredictable. It's like if you watch Jurassic Park, and he takes the hand and he puts a drop of water and it rolls off the back of the hand, right? And then he does another drop of water and she says, probably going to go the same way. And he's like, no, went the opposite way. You just never know. It's chaos, right? So she's asking him to speculate about something which cannot be speculated about. And I just ended a sentence in a preposition. That's how upset I am. Vicki, thank you so much for the Venmo. I appreciate you. So yes, there could be divots in the wall where the shell casings came out, but they would be microscopic divots. So we're gonna start having some. I don't know. I'm gonna start making some T-shirts. I think microscopic divots is going to be one of them. This prison jail incarcerated situation is going to be another one, because that was a sentence that she said at one point. And then she said, "Is it possible that the shell casing bounced to the left of my husband?" Ma'am, he is not your husband. Can we all agree on that? You begged the court to call you Lori Daybell. You begged them. Please do not refer to Charles Vallow as your husband. It's incredibly tone deaf, and I think the jury probably hates it. They probably hates it. Yeah, very frustrating. Okay. Then she started on with her hearsay BS. Yes, that's a good point. Her husband is on death row. So she asked, were you present when Alex did the walkthrough? Yes, I was. Did he show you, or did he tell you where he was standing? Well, that's hearsay. Well, did he show you where he was standing? Well, that's hearsay. She goes on with 4 or 5 different, she clearly still doesn't understand the hearsay rules. Hey, Lori, I recommend that tomorrow during your 1 hour out of prison after court, or maybe tonight, if you have time before you get locked into your cell, that you, I don't know, look in one of your law books that you've been studying so hard and try to figure out what hearsay is. Because she still clearly doesn't understand it. Thank you, Shy Gal 8, for the super sticker. I love it. Thank you so much. So then after several of these objections, she's like, well, what am I supposed to do? She kind of throws up her hands at the judge and she's like, I'm not asking it for the truth of the matter asserted. Like, she's the victim. So then, of course, they immediately go to the sidebar. And again, during this sidebar, you can see the judge speaking a lot, gesturing a lot. He's trying to teach her what she can and can't say. When she comes back from the sidebar, it's a little bit hopeful that she might have a well thought out question, because she asks a good question finally. She said, where would you place the shooter? Okay, thank you. That doesn't call for any kind of hearsay. He can testify to that. And she says, so he shot the first time and then he moved forward and shot the second time. And he says, I didn't say he moved. And she was baffled by that someone would correct her or challenge her or whatever. And then she started asking about how far apart the casings were. Why does it freaking matter? Again, Lori's asking all the wrong questions, and she's asking questions that does not even it's never going to go anywhere. And yes, by the way, I completely do 100% realize that she's a psychopath. I get it. I totally do. She has zero empathy for anyone else. She lacks empathy. She lacks the ability to care about other people. She lacks the ability to take responsibility for her actions. But here's the reason why this stuff bothers me so much. I really am not surprised by any of this stuff, but it still bothers me because here she is putting herself out here to be an attorney. Here she is putting herself out there to be an expert, somebody who can do better than a professional. And the reason I'm talking about it is because the truth matters. And I'm infuriated that she continues to try and put out lies and have people believe her. So she did have one good question in the part. See, here's the thing though, Cleo. See, psychopathy, you don't have to be smart to be a psychopath. You don't. The traits are completely different. It doesn't have anything to do with intelligence at all. Psychopathy is about not caring about hurting other people and driving forward to get what you want, regardless of how it hurts other people, and just not even thinking about how it hurts other people. Just like Alex never thought about the fact that Charles was left-handed and that he also batted left-handed, even though Lori claims he was a southpaw. He was not. Kay confirmed it. He is left-handed, and he batted left-handed. So there was nothing to this. There was a lot where she was trying to get him to say whether or not he moved or slightly moved or something like that. And again, it's just infuriating that she's asking these questions that are going to go nowhere. If she's going to be her own attorney, I would love it if she would do the work of trying to figure out the rules of engagement, so that at the very minimum, we could have a fair trial, or we could have a trial with a decent outcome. This is what I always say. Like, I really appreciate, I will watch almost any sport. Doesn't matter who the teams are, as long as it's a good contest. That's what I like to see. It's a good contest. And this is not a good contest, because Trina Kay is a seasoned prosecutor. She's very professional, very concise, and Lori's a psychopath. So we don't get to see both sides presenting compelling evidence where we have to make a decision. We're basically seeing a dumpster fire on one side. The objections make her game less fun. I agree. That's part of it. But there's only so much of it that the prosecutor can allow in before it starts to be harmful. And it does start to get confusing to the jury if you start to allow her to ask hearsay questions and things like that. So I'm sorry to anybody who has a family member who is a psychopath, because this is true. They operate completely differently than other criminally minded people. They tell on themselves through their deceptions. That's true. And that's why I was saying, I really think that Lori secretly wants the evidence, or I think she wants her prior convictions to get in, because I think she secretly is proud of it. Okay, home stretch, guys. We're almost done. You excited? We're almost there. Then she wanted to talk about stippling. I don't know why she wanted to talk about stippling. She asked, was there stippling? Nope. On the first shot? Nope. On the second shot? Nope. Is that in the medical examiner's report? Yes. And this is another more of that snark from this particular witness, which I absolutely loved. And then she asked for a minute. And then the judge just says, okay, we might as well call it. She took a minute, and the judge was like, we're just going to call it today. So the jury goes ahead, and he excuses the jury. And then Judge Boreski asks Lori to please have ready the exhibit numbers of the photos that she wants to use in her further cross-examination tomorrow, so that we can be prepared. Because he said it's a lot of photos to go through. I think what Lori was trying to say here is that she was trying to talk about the distance away that the gun was fired. She was trying to say that Alex was far enough away that there was no stippling, or that he was close enough that there was stippling. I don't know what she was trying to argue. Either way, it was a bad argument as usual, and So Judge Boreski asked her to have the exhibit numbers for the photos to be prepared for tomorrow, because it's a lot. And then this is where he reprimanded her. He said, you have a pattern of adding commentary at the end of questions. And then he read out 7 or 8 times that she added something and the exact words that she used, because this is because then she could say, no, I'm not doing that, Judge, or I didn't do it that often. Well, he had the exact words at the exact times that she did that. And he said, I'm going to caution you not to do that. That's a warning, basically. That's basically him saying, like, you're going to be held in contempt of court, because what he said is that's testifying. Her adding words to the ends of, or comments to the ends of the questions, or to after the witness says something, that's her testifying. And she is trying to use that as a tactic, I think, to get in something that she wants as evidence. So that was at the very, very end. And yes, I did talk this morning about Lori asking for the case to be dismissed for a 4th time and having that motion denied. And then at the very, very, very end, then the judge asked if the prosecutor, if she had anything. And she said, yes, I've been told that 2 detectives and a civilian have received a subpoena to appear for the defense in court tomorrow. And there was no phone number on the subpoena for them to call back and find out what the deal is. So Lori, we know that she has this long list of witnesses. When we started the trial, when we started jury selection, she still had not subpoenaed any of the witnesses. She couldn't get a hold of them or get him to call back or call the prosecutor's office back, because they have to be interviewed by the prosecutor before they can appear in court. And so she finally apparently issued some subpoenas, but obviously the state is not finished presenting their case, and Lori's witnesses can't appear until the state rests their case. And so obviously these 2 detectives and 1 civilian are not going to be appearing tomorrow. So they asked, Lori, can we get a phone number? So they did offer a phone number. And she said, oh, I really thought that they just had to be ready. What did she say? Lori thought that they needed to be available for questions, or that they needed to be, I don't know. I forget exactly what she said. I didn't write down exactly what she said because I was trying to get out of there. But she said something to the effect of that she put the date of tomorrow on there is because she thought that they needed to notify by tomorrow or something. She misunderstood something yet again. Again, you could have asked your prosecution team. You could have asked Team Daybell over there. So she does have a list of witnesses, but so far she has not been able to get a hold of them or subpoena them. Now, apparently she's issued 3 subpoenas and issued them for the wrong dates. So that's fun. This would be funny if she asked to have it dismissed for ineffective counsel, because she is counsel, but she can't claim ineffective counsel now because she waived that right when she decided to represent herself. So I want to thank a couple people for super stickers, and then I'm going to get to questions. And I think I'm not going to play any clips tonight, but I will do that tomorrow. For those of you who don't want to watch the trial and just can take only the smallest doses, I want to play a couple of clips that I think are important. So I think I thanked everybody for super stickers except Miss Mojo. Thank you. There's a book called Book for Dummies, Courtroom Edicts, and Almost Everything. I like them. She could have read the Courtroom for Dummies thing, Lawyering for Dummies. Susan, thank you for the super sticker. I appreciate it. Mainly, I'm just getting tired, and I'm tired of talking about it. So I'm going to answer as many questions as I can get to in the next 12 minutes. So let's call it that way. By the way, if you have not yet, please subscribe. Please like the episode. And if you are able to financially support the channel, I'd love to have you as a Patreon member, where you can get all kinds of bonus content, cooking things, music things, and basically whatever you ask me to post on there. If a juror asks about Tylee, what would the judge say? Well, what happens is the jurors they write their questions on a piece of paper and they put it in a basket in front of the jury box. And then a bailiff brings the questions to the judge. He reads through them, and then they go on a sidebar. And they discuss between the attorneys what the questions are and whether or not they should ask the questions. So I'm assuming that's what would happen. They would bring it up and they would say, okay, we've got a juror asking a question about Tylee. How do we handle this? I don't know exactly how they would handle it. So it'll be interesting to see, because if I were a juror, I would be curious. We know Alex has passed away, but Tylee was there that day and she was 17 at the time. So she would have been old enough to testify in these proceedings. So I think that's it would be on my mind as a juror. That's all I'm saying. MB says, I'll not love you anymore if you tell Vinny no to an interview. I was so jelly the other night, just being silly. Yeah, I love Vinny. I love going on his show. I just have to be careful about what shows I go on. And I think I only say that because I don't want to spread myself too thin. And I also think there are some questions that anybody can answer, right? It doesn't have to be me that answers certain things, like how did things go in court today? If they specifically want my take on something, or my take on Lori or something like that, then that's an interview worth doing for me. So I'm just going to be a little bit more selective so that I can have a little more downtime and a little more rest, because that's important to me. Did Kate and the other family members leave court today and not come back? Did you mean Kay Woodcock? and Charles's sister, Susan, they both left court today, but they're actually in the victim's room, which is behind the gallery. And there's a TV in there where they can still hear court without watching the TV, and they can just relax back there and not have to be out there when pictures of Charles are shown. So they were in that room back there. So they were there. They just weren't in the actual courtroom. I have not spoken to Colby personally, but he and I have been in each other's chats from time to time on our YouTube channels and been friendly with each other. I think he knows that he has an open invitation to call me, talk to me whenever he wants to. And I'm happy to be here for him for anything that he needs. Denise says, Megan, do you think Lori and Alex had anything to do with Joe Ryan's death? Yes. You must be new to the channel. We've talked about it before. Definitely I do. Oh, shoot. Okay. U4EA. Can I ask what education/job experience you are very smart and articulate? That reminds me how was having a conversation with Lori. Oh, how was having a conversation with Lori? I mean, it always pretty much went the same way. You know, Lori wants what Lori wants. And if you want something different, that doesn't matter. And she puts her narrative out there. And if you believe something different, that doesn't matter. My education background is interesting. That for what I'm doing right now, I have a Bachelor of Arts in Music and Marketing. I took 60 hours of business courses. I've always been an entrepreneur. I've always had some kind of a side business that I have run. And then I have a master's degree in vocal performance, which is where I then went on to have a very brief career singing professionally before I became a high school choir teacher, which I did for about 15 years, if you include the years that I taught voice lessons and then went to choir. And after that, I went to work for a fuel supply company where I was the vice president of operations, which is a story for another day. But I do have a video on my channel and my podcast about getting fired from that job. So if you're interested in that, I have a whole book that I can write about my 3.5 years with that company. It was a very wild show, full of narcissism and full of fraud and full of deception and billions of dollars. It was fascinating. So thanks for asking. That's kind of fun to talk about for, the first time in a long time. Is Lori more Nephi than Nephi himself? She killed at least 3. Nephi only had 1, as far as we know, listed in the scriptures. That's right. So maybe that is why she thinks she is more special and important. She's more willing. Ugh, that's dark. I'm sorry. Okay. Did Alex, Denise Kadeka says, did Alex ever have any girlfriends or ever get married? The relationship he and Lori had made me wonder if he went after Tylee. I really hope not. She told police she got the baseball bat when she lived with him to protect herself, right? I think she was left alone during that time, but I would understand her being creeped out by Alex. Alex did have girlfriends, many partners, if you want to say it that way. He did get married very briefly for one short time. There is an interview where his ex-wife talks to police about Lori and his inappropriate relationship. And then, of course, he married Zulema Pastenes just a couple of weeks before he died. So he never really was able to keep a relationship for very long. I just don't think he was capable of connecting with someone in that way. She asked where he parked. Why? It's, again, this parking narrative, because she got called out for doing it badly. I don't know. I'm so curious that they're putting things together, like her belt. Does she wear normal shoes? Her shoes were kind of ugly today. She was wearing these combat boot high heels is the only way I know how to describe it. They were combat boots, but there was like a bit of a heel to the back of them. It was very weird. Amor says, would Lori have wanted the trajectory info out just because she doesn't understand it? Possibly. Again, I said this morning, I don't think she understands what a compound question is, and I think that frustrates her. Ashley Ray says, did you ever answer about whether or not Tylee was possibly wanting to protect Charles, which is why she grabbed the bat? I don't know. It's just a speculation that's a little too far out there for me. I don't know. I think that Lori was causing problems. I think she did take Charles's phone. I don't think Charles was threatening Lori. I don't think Lori ever felt unsafe. I don't think Lori ever needed protection from Tylee. So that's what I'll say about that. Yes, thank you. DL. As an ICU nurse, my comment my comment shower is broken. Okay. As an ICU nurse, I just read the autopsy report of CV. Well, DL, I mean, if you would like to come on at some point and talk about it, I'd love to talk with you, because I think it'd be good to have that perspective. So I don't know. You can email me at askmegan, MEEGAN, askmegan with 2 E's at gmail.com. And you wouldn't have to show your face. We could just do your voice if you wanted to, or if you didn't feel comfortable with that, you could just email me your findings and I could read them. So just let me know what you think. That'd be super fun. Tina, I'm glad you're a new member. Welcome. Welcome to the revolution. Thoughts on Lori cross-examining her old friends later in the trial? They're not on the witness list, so they're not going to be there. Yes, she just wants to have something to object to, I believe. Lori did look at me several times today. She's every once in a while she tries to make eye contact with me, but I just ignore her. If we do happen to meet eyes for a second, I just look away. I have zero reaction to her, and I think that probably infuriates her too. When Lori dipped out, it wasn't on at least the stream I was watching. Any guesses where she went or why? She went into her back room, the room that she comes in and out of. I think it was maybe a bathroom break, or maybe there was something wrong with her belt, or maybe she wanted it adjusted somehow. I don't know. Irish Jen says timestamp should already be embedded to start where you want to click preview screen. Okay, yeah, so that's for tomorrow. The clips from yesterday. I may just put together a video that is Lori of all my favorite Lori moments in the trial with some commentary. That might be what I do rather than holding people hostage for a live and holding me hostage. I can record when I want. Then I can do it at 3 o'clock in the morning when I wake up. Do you think Lori might have undiagnosed, untreated ADHD? Well, I think she has undiagnosed, untreated a lot of stuff, but I don't think ADHD is one of them, honestly. That she doesn't come across like that, and I have it, so I recognize that in other people sometimes. Dr. Vonda K, did you design your Lori Nephi graphic? Yes, I did. However, I can't take credit for the picture of Nephi and Laban. That is an LDS artist who put those out there for, public use, for church use. The graphic of Lori is AI generated, but I worked hard on that AI generation. I want to tell you, I was very artistic and specific about what I wanted in that image, and I'm going to use it for another video later. And then, yeah, I put all those pieces together, but I did not physically, sit down and draw anything. Cass Walrath, thank you so much for the super sticker. If I didn't say thank you already. Marlena says, will the family sue Chandler police for not taking Charles seriously and then letting Alex roam free? That's a question for Kay. I don't know. If it were me personally, I would just want it to be over and done with. There's really nothing that can be gained from that except money, and money's not going to make it better. So in my opinion, I don't think I would do it. Tina, I think I thanked you already, but I just want to make sure because this is super awesome of you. Thank you for the super sticker. Trevor Larson says, the people that say this case has nothing to do with Mormonism offend me the most. I agree. And I said that on my Nephi story or my Nephi video this morning. Honest question, did Alex do drugs? Not that I know of, but he did visit Colombia quite often. I think that was for tourism, companionship tourism. And he did go to Mexico often. So maybe he was getting something. I have no idea. Speculation. Will the jury find out what she was convicted of? No, not what she was convicted of. Just that she was convicted. So I think we went over that. Marianne says, well, in Idaho, she claimed Charles was trying to kill her for $2 million. So I think she concocts plenty. That's true. She also claimed that Adam was trying to kill her for $2 million. So that's just silly also. Judy Girl says, if you're in town over the weekend, try going for a walk in Papago Park, visit the Phoenix Zoo, Desert Botanical Gardens, or Encanto Park. Get out in the fresh air. Yeah, I'm trying to get out in the fresh air, but I am not going to be here over the weekends. I'm going home again, so we'll have to figure that out. I don't know if Charles had a Fitbit, but I would guess that if he did, that they would know that already, and they would have taken the data off of it. I did see that he was wearing a watch in the photo today, but I don't know. Where did Tylee come from? I think she came from the bedroom that she was sleeping in. I think she really did. I think there was a bat situation that happened. My name is Karen. Lori was trying so hard not to tell him where everyone was standing. She knows exactly what happened. That's true. I didn't think of that. But yeah, that's really funny. Denny Dawn, she has studied the law. Didn't you hear her say that? She's been studying the law. She's an expert now. Why did she not learn some law before she decided to represent herself, learn some basics to help her dumb move? But at least we get to see her make a fool of herself. Yeah, I want it to be over sooner rather than later, because it's enough already for me. Can you ask Kay if he bat it? He did. Bat right-handed. Kay confirmed it. And she confirmed it with a couple people too. Charles bought Tylee a very nice car. Now she's scared of Charles. Say what? Yeah, I said earlier that I think Lori did a good job of alienating Tylee against Charles by feeding Tylee a narrative that Charles didn't like her and that they didn't get along. Anyway, it's complicated. I think there was a lot there. Joel Roberts, the dog that JJ had was returned to the place that gave the dog to him. And that was so sad to me when that happened. Dee Dee says there's also 0 DNA mentioned on the bat. There was no DNA found on the bat, and the only fingerprints found on the bat were inconclusive. Trevor Larson, the police were happy not to investigate this case until they had to because of the media attention. I don't know if that's true or not. The thing is, this detective wrote his report shortly after the shooting happened, and they were suspicious at that time already. I think it takes a lot of time to gather evidence. It takes a lot of time to gather enough evidence to make an arrest. And by the time they had all of that evidence together, that's when everything else crazy started happening. So while I do think some mistakes were made, especially with not holding Alex, I think they were suspicious of this from the beginning. So Charles also sent threatening texts to Lori. I don't think they were threatening. I don't think they were really that threatening. I do remember a couple that were inflammatory, but I don't know if I would classify them as threatening. But we'll see. When they come out, I'll be reminded again, and then we can talk about it again. Do I remember correctly that Alex pretended to the dispatcher that he was or was going to try? Yeah, he said he was going to try, but then that was a lot of the evidence today was basically saying there's no way that he tried CPR effectively. Charles texted Lori to look over your shoulder. It's coming soon, that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'll be interested to see the text messages. I haven't looked at them in such a long time, so I'll have to wait till they come out in evidence. Have you watched Nate's Idaho News? There's a recording of the landlord talking with the police after Charles's death. Alex was at the house many days before and after the shooting. Yeah, other details stated. Yeah, I think I have seen that one. All of that is going to come out because the landlord has been called as a witness, but for Lori's side, I think. So we'll see if that happens. Paisley Dreams, there goes that air conditioning in. Do you think she had planned that far back to murksing the kids too? I don't know. I mean, by this point, Charles was the only one. Well, Charles was dark and Tylee was dark at this point. So I have to say probably so. And that was the next question too from Intervisions. Thank you for this, Kelly D, if I didn't thank you already. Justine, does it bother anyone else to listen to her giggle and use that childlike voice? Yes. Does she understand that she's never getting out of jail? It's heartbreaking. She's so disconnected. I think she is disconnected, but it does bother me that she uses that little baby voice and she's still trying to endear herself to people. Clearly. Why shoot him if they could run out of the house and the kids were in the car? Well, because of the life insurance. That was the whole plan, allegedly. The whole plot was the life insurance. It was never about feeling like they were in danger. And then Jojo, I would appreciate it if you don't use all caps. Some people take that as yelling. If Keller would have identified Lori and stated Tylee is not in the courtroom, well, they couldn't have said that. He could not have just openly stated why she's not there. They would have had to ask a question, and the prosecutor can't bring that in. There are rules about that. So that could not have happened. Jessica says, does anyone know where I could find the conversation between the landlord and law enforcement? I think they just said that that's on East Idaho News. And then my cat's name is Karen. Alex Cox is the first serial killer with a manager. I saw someone say it and I loved it. Yeah, that's pretty funny. He was also very incompetent. And he was only, as Rex pointed out, my uncle Rex pointed out, he was only successful when he had help. Do you think that Lori thinks her mission is being fulfilled because we're all learning about Nephi now? No, but she thinks she's helping all of the inmates now. That's her new mission. Only after judge approves jury questions, right? Yeah. So the jury asks the question, the judge reads it, then they have a sidebar conference about it, and then if everyone agrees, then they will ask the questions. So Chi-Town says the information about the Idaho trial is now in the record. Won't that hurt Lori's case? I'll be interested to see what happens, because obviously the prosecutor didn't bring it up and the witness that said it is gone. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with that. What did Lori tell JJ where his dad was after he already saw him there? JJ's not afraid of Charles. They loved each other so much. Poor JJ. Yeah, he'd not seen his dad. Yeah. So I think what Lori told JJ is just that Charles wasn't here, or that he was traveling or something. I think that's what happens. Karina Torres says, what did you feel when she kept saying Tylee and Charles didn't get along? It makes me angry, because she's lying about someone who's not here because of her. And I don't think she even really knew Tylee. She couldn't have. You can't know somebody when you can't have empathy for who they are. That makes me sad. Judge Borowski cautioned her how many times before he excuses her? It's a good question. He's been really, really patient so far. And I don't know. Ms. Sniff, could you see Lori's reaction when the judge corrected her? I couldn't, because she's facing away, but she was nodding and agreeing. She does want to agree with the judge. She does want to acknowledge him, and she's being respectful of him for the most part, except when she loses her temper a little bit. Paisley Dreams, do you think the kids' rooms were bare as she already had? No, I don't know. I don't know what the timeline was on that. I think we talked a little bit about that before. I'm on the fence on that one. DL, I'm on disability, don't have lots of extra money, but want to send you some for your morning coffee or tea. Oh, that's so kind of you. I see iOS and don't see how to do it. You know what? It's just enough that you said that you want to do that. That fills my cup enough, DL. I don't want you to spend your disability money on me. But when I have my coffee tomorrow, I'll think of you. Thank you. I appreciate you. Lindsay says, Megan, have you been officially recognized as a victim? I've heard you mention that you've been with Kay. And I remember when you called originally, thought you were told no. Well, I wasn't told no. The prosecutor's office never did get back to me, but Kay told them that I would be joining them. She was very gracious to invite me to sit with them. She told the victim's advocate about me, and the victim's advocate said, okay, have her meet me at my office on the first day of the trial, and we'll go in. So I don't think I've been officially recognized. I don't need to be officially recognized as a victim. I'm there to support Kay and to witness for justice for Charles and for the kids. And I'm grateful that they're including me, because I get a chance to talk with some other family members and meet some other people that I've been hearing about. And that's important to me. So I'm very appreciative of Kay welcoming me and allowing me to be there for her and be a part of this. Lamisa says, if this is too private, no worries, but I'm wondering, do you feel Lori was enjoying discussing the chest compressions? I do, actually. There were a couple of moments where I was like, she's doing this because she's sadistic and she wants it described in detail because she wants those details. I think she is sadistic. I had that thought and I didn't think to write it down because I was like, I don't even want to talk about it. It's so gross. I do think it was on purpose. And maybe I think Lori does notice when Kay's not in the courtroom. I think she does. 1,000 Julys, thank you so much. Like, subscribe, continue to the chat. Watch the train derail today. Thank you for your content. Love to Kay and family. Thank you so much. I appreciate this. Karina, sorry. What do you think about Lori saying Tylee and Charles fighting a lot? Yeah, I think we talked about this a little bit. Joe Neal, have you been excommunicated? They can't excommunicate me because I quit. I resigned on February 14th of 2023. And it was one of the most freeing experiences of my life. I literally felt shame leave my body, and I couldn't be happier. Love my new life. Lamisa says, Megan, did you feel her glee today? Gave me chills. She was enjoying discussing. Yeah, this is more than one person is saying this. Very sadistic, very gross. Did not like that. Do you think the landlord will testify? I think he should. He's full of info. I think he does have relevant info. He might be the only witness on Lori's list that actually has relevant info. So I kind of do hope that he testifies. Veronica, do you think Lori's parents are a big reason why Lori ended up 100% like this? Yep. Heidi This mind question, do you feel the facade of charm, confidence, and dominance of Lori's dissociated character fading? I don't know that I see it fading. She has so much of a mask that it's kind of so much a part of her that I don't think it will go away. But what I do see happening is I see the cracks forming in places where she's feeling frustrated about things. And I think we're going to see more and more of her temper come out. And the more she loses her temper, the less she's going to be able to mask. So it's that sort of thing. Yeah, the facade, it's going to crack a little bit at the very least. Also, did they confirm in court today that she took Charles's wedding ring? They did not confirm that. I don't know when that will come out, if at all. Beth says, do you know if the Idaho FOIA documents will be released after Brandon's trial? I think that's possible, but yeah, it probably will be after Brandon's trial at the very, very earliest. So I apologize. Thank you so much to Irish Jen. You're a rock star. Irish Jen, you should set up a buy me a coffee so that I can buy you a coffee at the very least. I really love this community. Thank you so much for being here. This is a kind and supportive space. Even though we have lots of different opinions, I don't see the kind of hate that I see on other channels. And I'm so grateful for it. I'm so grateful for the kindness and respect that you show each other in the chat, and also for the support that you're giving me. It means the world to me. I can't even begin to tell you how much I appreciate it. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you for helping me create this community. And thank you for being a part of it. I love you guys. And I will see you tomorrow. I will be there for an afternoon live again tomorrow. And I'm going to try to put together some more stuff, but I'm also going to just do my self-care tonight, and I'm going to celebrate my podcast. So I love you guys, and I will see you very soon. Please take care of each other, but mostly take care of yourself. Do your healing work. You deserve it. Love you guys.